All right, Brianna, my name is Danielle, and I'm really glad to see you in here today. It's so nice to meet you. Today's session is really just kind of getting to know each other, you telling me kind of why you're here, and kind of getting a goal and treatment plan for you for the rest of our time together. So today, I'm just going to kind of be jotting some stuff down that you tell me, whatever is important for you to let me know. But we really are just kind of getting the basis of what are the concerns for you and why you're here today. So tell me in your own words kind of why you are here with me today.
I kind of want to address childhood trauma. My dad was an alcoholic, verbally abusive to my mom. I want to work on, I have a mixture like maybe depression and anxiety. I let things sometimes like overwhelm me, which bring on the anxiety, which lead to the depressive state where I just shut down and I just stay in a dark space. Self-esteem wise, I was bullied a lot as a child. So some of those things I would like to address and work through to become a better person and how to self-identify myself in a positive manner and receive positive affirmation from others and also from myself without cringing. Being more social, I tend to bury myself in work, and I don't know how to approach people far as, hey, do you want to go somewhere? I just tend to just stay at home. If you don't invite me, I'm not going.
Right.
So, yeah,
Okay.
there's some things I would like to work on.
And the important thing is that you recognize those things. I think that that's a really good, important strength that you have, is just recognizing what you need to work on. So you mentioned your father. Is he still in the picture now?
We have a okay relationship. He's older with health problems. So I try to check in when I want to.
Okay.
Or he check on me, but I try to let him make the first initial because I got tired of being the one to always reach out.
Right.
So if I go days without talking to him, then he'll reach out to me.
Right.
But if I be out and about on that side of town where he lives, then I try to go by there, pop up and see how he's doing.
And what do those interactions with him typically look like?
How you doing? Now he's in age where he's 65 now, and he asking for advice on Medicare and health insurance and just his doctors and trying to get prescriptions filled and stuff. So it's either there or he asked me how I'm doing, how's work, and how's the family, as far as my mom's side of the family. But far as that, our relationship is not like Kiki and Kaka, it's just not that. It's just, hey, how you doing? Chit chat and leave. It's kind of like an in and out transaction.
Okay. And how do you feel that you have been dealing with that as you've gotten older? What coping skills have you developed to kind of handle that past trauma?
One time I did sit down and talk to him far as not adult, but far as a child, the inner child during that period. Addressing things that was said and done, and he totally disregarded and didn't take accountability. It's like he tried to shift blame onto my mother.
Yeah.
But it takes two to tango.
Right.
So it's just, I try to voice my opinion. I try not to like, I guess like reserve. I try to like say what's on my mind.
Not hold grudges.
Correct.
Yeah.
So this is why you hurt. This is how I feel about what you see and how that hurt me.
I think that's a great kind of strategy to have when you have that estranged relationship with somebody. So that's a good thing. Do you, and it sounds like a healthy coping skill too. Do you feel like you have any coping skills that maybe you could work on?
I mean, it's some things that I feel like I can probably do better. Because my mom always say at the end of the day that is your father. But I do have boundaries. And I do know what I'm not going to take. Because there was a period where I had cut him off for like maybe a year. Because he called me intoxicated and cussed me out. So I refuse to allow anyone to belittle me as far as cursing me and basically saying that he basically provided for me, but he didn't. So just standing my ground and voicing how I felt and what I observed in the home.
Right. Do you feel like your anxiety and depression has kind of created a barrier for those boundaries? Or have you always kind of been like that? Let me ask this way. Tell me what your anxiety and depression, like what does that affect? Like what triggers those emotions and feelings?
From my previous job, I was overworked. And I didn't have I talked to like co-workers. I didn't have a social outlet. It was nothing but work, honestly. And that was like a 24/7 job. So it was very stressful. And so when I get overwhelmed, the anxiety of like if I'm doing it right and just trying to meet expectation and then those expectations, and if I feel like I didn't meet it or I'm good with getting feedback from superior, but when it's like nothing but straight negative, it's like, well, where's the positive? You throw in one little positive, it's like, okay.
It's hard to have motivation when you have consistent just nagging, it feels like.
Yes, so it's like I get into this like depressive state. So I just try to stay to myself.
What was your job that you're talking about?
I worked at Department of Human Resources under Child Welfare, Family Preservation.
Okay. I actually used to work for DHR too in foster care, so I totally understand the stress of that job. It is unlike any other. So I totally understand. What kind of support system did you have when you were at work, either with your coworkers or family or friends? Like, what was your outlet to that stress?
So later on down, when I was working there, me and a colleague, we used to go and do breakfast in the morning. And then if I feel overwhelmed during the period, during the day, I linked on some of my colleagues for support. And then eventually I was like mandated to go to counseling. So that's why I'm kind of semi here.
Do you feel like it helped?
It's a process. sometimes you just have to scratch the layers. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Sometimes you have to scratch the layers and get to the root and the causes of things, because I feel like I suppressed so much, and sometimes I don't say things. I just let it build up. Not till I explode, but sometimes I do explode. It's just my behavior and my demeanor, and you be like, what's wrong with you? Until I feel comfortable with opening up to people.
Right.
So yeah, I feel like it's helping, but it's a lot of things to work on.
Yeah. Mental health is an ongoing, it's like your physical health. It's like you can't really function without proper mental health or physical health. So it's important to, just like going to the doctor, keep your mental health in check, and just making sure you're being supported, supporting yourself, and you're able to be open and honest, which is the kind of environment I want to foster in here. So this is definitely an open and non-judgmental space, and I want you to be comfortable talking about whatever you feel like you need to with me. So I appreciate all of the information that you've given me, and I think we've got some good goals to work on, as far as maybe working on that self-esteem, kind of the anxiety that revolves around kind of people pleasing. You feel like that's an issue, from what I understand, or just receiving criticism and stuff like that. So I think that working around the anxiety that's kind of brought on by that. So, and then just kind of working through that childhood trauma that you mentioned with your dad, and looking at how it's affected you even to this day, because a lot of childhood memories, abuse, anything, it all kind of ties into how we grow up and our behaviors. And so we'll dig more into that as we go along in our sessions. But I really appreciate you being here today, and all the information that you've given me, and we will move forward from here. Okay? All right. That was a lot easier than I thought. I do appreciate you doing that for me. It wasn't, as we got started, it wasn't as nerve-wracking. So, yeah. But I appreciate that. All right. Well, thank you.
How do you feel about the assignment?
I think it went really well. I think that, we reached our time limit, and we were able to just, it was like having a conversation, like you said. So it was easy. And I think as social workers, both being from DHR and both being here, we kind of have a mutual understanding of what, is kind of included and, included and expected from these assessments. So that made it a lot easier. Yeah. Thank you.
It's basically building a dialogue with your client when assessing. So, tell me about yourself,
Right.
So, right. From then, people can go on and on and on.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And in my therapy experience, being in therapy myself, and I think you agree, is just things come up constantly that you're just like, oh, I didn't even know that was an issue.
Yeah.
So, it's funny how it works.
And then, just not previously, but just in the current, because we go through so much on the day-to-day. So
especially in our field.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's so I go every 2 weeks to counseling.
Me too.
And so I can probably have a blow up within that 2 week time
frame
before I get to my counseling session.
Right.
So it's okay, well, let's address the current.
Yeah. Yeah. Always. All right. Well, thank you again.
You're welcome.